The second critical choice I made was to commit to a two-way agreement. And at that time, I was 20, and it was a near contractual agreement between me and my sister and her husband. They had taken me into their home in Killeen, Texas. So we'll dive there later in Killeen, Texas. You and I one-on-one. Now, when I think about a two-way agreement, we each enter into two-way agreements informally or formally all of the time. It's all around us. Two people or two entities. What I experienced is committing to the agreement is the power. And for me, actions that started from I have to do these things transformed to I want to do these things.
Yeah.
As young leaders follow you and watch you and want to be you, I'm curious about a two-way agreement that you've entered into. What was it? And what did you perhaps give and get through that commitment?
This was a tough one for me when you mentioned this would be on the list of questions, but the one that I think I came back to again and again, and I thought I don't know how to quite articulate it, but I would say that it's my marriage. Like so many children of Gen X, I think marriage was something that was very broken in Gen X. And there's a lot of divorce, a lot of multiple divorce. My mom was married and divorced twice. My other family members have gone through similar things. And when I met my husband, I had already I was divorced. I got married when I was 18 and divorced. Sorry.
Yes, very young.
Yeah, married when I was 18 to my high school sweetheart, divorced when I was 23. Very amicable divorce. We got divorced in a corner booth in a Denny's for $50. That's what happened when you didn't have property. It was relatively easy. And
yeah.
I just felt like such a failure after going through that. And, I just thought, oh gosh, I'm never going to make this mistake again. And so getting into the relationship with my husband, my now husband, was a little scary for me. So we started dating and I told him, I said, I'm not marriage material. So if you're looking for marriage, we probably should date and then you should move on. But we ended up staying together and we didn't actually get married for 13 years. 13 years. So we called ourselves married and people thought of us as married. We owned 4 Curbs locations and a house together. And in every common law way, we were married, but we had never made the real commitment, not because of him, but because of me. And I was afraid of what does that really mean? And how does it look to fail again? And what I started realizing is very much like your question. There were a lot of things that you have to put up with a partner. You have to do that. And what started to dawn on me was that if you're going to make a marriage work, you have to love the person warts and all. You have to love the person unconditionally. And you have to expect that from them. And when I started realizing that I wanted to do that, I wanted to see him for who he really was and not expect him to be who I had this fantasy of someone supposedly being, it helped tremendously to make that admittance to myself that I'm not perfect either, that no one's perfect in a relationship, and that I really want to have that person that I live my life with. And so we finally got married when I turned 40. That was the year we got married. And so it's we celebrate 2 anniversaries now. So I got my MBA and we got married the same year, which was 2010. But we always celebrate the anniversary of our first date as our real anniversary because we've been together for so long. But I think that commitment is something that for this generation, you see it's gotten harder. Like marriage seems to be out of vogue. But I can honestly say that of all of the achievements in my life, I think having a successful marriage is one that I celebrate the most, because it was unusual in my family. And to make that commitment to somebody and really let them see me who I authentically am and to accept them for who they authentically are was a big deal.
It's a beautiful story. It's a perfect example. And I thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah.
And then you had a daughter.
Yes. And that was a little surprise. Yeah.
And then because of that, later you had a daughter, which is just beautiful in a whole nother way.
Yeah, I was one of
the unexpected get from that two-way agreement.
There's that saying, you plan, God laughs. And in this one, it was sort of like the conversation was always, it was sort of, do you want to have kids? I don't know. Do you want to have kids? I don't know. And then you're in your late 30s and then you're in your early 40s and you think these things don't happen anymore. And then boom, one day they happen. And my husband and I both were very shocked and excited about it, but it was inconvenient. And this is where, having somebody that you really have that relationship with helped,
Yeah.
because I was the more career driven, and we had since sold our Curves. I had been running operations for Curves and was ready to take that corner office. I got hired and found out I was pregnant about a month after I got hired. And it was like, holy moly, how am I going to do this? And so my husband and I talked about it, and he said, maybe it's time for me to retire and just become a stay-at-home dad. And so that's what we did. And we weren't really prepared to live on one salary, but it was something that made sense for us, and we were able to do it. And it's been such a blessing because I've been able to continue to do the things that I do and to be the breadwinner while he stays home and really is the anchor for her. Now he homeschools her. So it's great because it gives us,
which is awesome. And yeah. It's such a great, and I'm going to move us forward to the third choice, but it's such a great example of how two-way agreements evolve as well.
Yeah.
Because that agreement between your husband then shifted and evolved to new understandings and new agreements when all of a sudden you have a daughter. And so there's new dynamic, and so you adjust and evolve and commit and then continue to grow.
Yeah. And it's the thing about the commitment. And that's what struck me when you and I were talking about this prior, that the commitment piece of that, and saying, yes, we are going to do this and we are going to do it until death do us part. Mm-hmm. It took the option of, when difficult things happen in relationships and you think, well, I'm just done. It took that option off the table. And so instead of being just done, it's sort of, okay, we're partners. What's next? And it makes it a lot more fun once you really have that deep commitment. And I think many people, even in marriages, don't have that commitment. Yeah. It's rare anymore. But to be able to go through that and so many other things that we've gone through together has been, I don't know, just knowing that question, that book is closed, that choice gave us a new foundation that made it fun. It makes those challenges things that you can laugh at because you have someone to go through it with.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast, or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.